know that running a veterinary business can sometimes feel like you're fighting your way through a jungle of financial insecurity, HR nightmares, and overall business confusion? Our goal is to give you the ideas and tools you need to not just survive in this jungle, but to thrive in the veterinary industry. By combining over 50 years of knowledge and experience with differing opinions and a little humor, we will help you get the information you need to make the best decisions for you and your veterinary business. Welcome to the Veterinary Survival Show with veterinary CPA and certified financial planner Mark McGaunn and certified veterinary practice manager and practice owner Jenni George.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Veterinary Survival Podcast. Today, we have a special episode. We're going to be doing some key takeaways from the recent VMX Conference down in Orlando. So first, I'm going to start over with Jenni. Jenni, how was VMX for you?
It was good. It wasn't as warm as we're used to. We were actually commenting that I only saw one lizard while we were there because it was so cold that they were all hiding. But no, VMX was great. I spoke in 3 sessions and had over 1,000 people between those 3 sessions. So that was really good with some very good feedback. So yeah, and I spent a lot of time actually on the expo floor, which I don't normally do. And I thought it was very interesting that we had a conversation about AI. And shockingly enough, that's a lot of what we saw on the expo floor. So
Can you
yeah, that
give
was
something,
interesting.
any crazy AI out there that's coming soon or that vets might be start using around the country?
There was a lot of AI help with the front desk. So a lot of AI reception, a lot of things like that. Still a lot of different scribing tools. Happy Doc, Talkatoo, Scribe, Vet. There were just a lot of those. A lot of platforms that will do your email, texting, reminder systems, things like that, and help with the phones. Like I'm trying to think of some of them: Vitus Vet, Weave. Yeah. So there was I just noticed a lot of technology on the floor, which I noticed a lot last year too. So I'm definitely seeing more talking about that, more considering about that. I know there are still a lot of concerns as far as, I don't want to say Terminator because we we say that all the time, but more what I'm feeling or what the conversation that I had was really a lot of the veterinarian industry is really a service industry, right? We're a service industry that provides medical care. And I feel like customer service is always on our mind. We want to make sure that people have a good experience with our team. A lot of times we're handling very sensitive cases. And so I still hear that concern, of yes, AI is great with phone systems, but my clients call and they really want to talk to the team members that they know, and so there's still a lot of that concern there. I noticed, and then you get the argument, well, we can put your doctor's voice on with AI, which I understand, but I don't want my husband answering the phones. So there was a lot of that concern still there. But overall, it's definitely a bigger presence than it has been in the past. So it'll be interesting to see how it morphs and changes.
Would you say that, so technology, that was like the undercurrent of the whole conference this year
Yes.
from the vendors and the speakers?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I went to some classes on how to, increase efficiency with regards to using technology. One of the talks that I went to was done by Phil Richmond and Eric Garcia, and it was really about how we can improve our wellness, our emotional wellness by becoming more efficient, by utilizing some of these tools. And it wasn't anything big and scary, which was good. Eric Garcia is very good about, here are some small things that you can do, automated email things, things that you can set up once and not have to worry about it anymore. So I think that was a really good talk, but I saw a lot of talks about utilizing AI for marketing, for efficiency and things like that. So that was a lot of what I saw at VMX. Definitely an undercurrent of technology.
So while we're recording this right now, we're in the Northeast and we're under a snowmageddon. And I was on I was looking up I have a snowblower. I'm going to treat it later on today, but I was on searching for a snowblower part, and I saw Best Buy is selling a Automos snowblower that's like a little Roomba that goes around and snowblows for you. Were you seeing anything like that? Like a robot that's going to go around and give you your trays, or were they showing any next generation robot stuff at VMX, or
No.
not that level yet?
No, we're not. I don't know. What would you use a Roomba for in a practice setting? I have heard about, maybe they're robots. I don't know, that will help like clean kennels, or you can use, Roomba type things to help mop and sweep the floors in the practice. But no, I did not see any. Mark, you probably walked the expo hall a lot. Did you see robots?
No, but could I find one to do my job?
So
I don't know.
So, Mark, Jenni at the conference said the real big undercurrent with vendors and people speaking, there's a lot of AI, a lot of technology. What was your big takeaway from VMX?
I think that was an overshadowing concept. Like, people are thinking, oh my God, this is so new. It's been around for a couple years now. It's all of a sudden people are afraid. If you were going to be afraid 2 years ago.
Right.
You have to embrace it now. There's AI for everything, as you know, Chris.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, I do think that the technology piece of it was very predominant in the talks, in the expo hall, everything like that. How did you feel like your talks went?
Well, I took the VMX speaker class. I did everything they told me. And I had a scathing review that I spoke too slowly and paused frequently, which is exactly what I was instructed to do. So instead of spitting out all my information as fast as humanly possible, because I want to give attendees everything I know, I slowed it down and I got chastised for it.
That's okay. I had one scathing review that I laughed too much and didn't take it seriously. And I'm like, okay, well, then I am not your person, and that's okay.
But it's hard to be everything to everybody in 50 minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I had people that came up and wanted me to solve their financial crisis at the end of the talk, and I said, I can't do that in our interaction here.
Yeah. I know. Well, so I did a leadership talk, a culture talk, and an imposter syndrome talk, which was a lot of fun. But the culture talk I did with Dr. Phil Richmond. And I will tell you, I had people like, we're out in the hall and they're, I don't know what to do. My practice owner won't talk to me, won't do this, won't do that. And I'm like, you might have outgrown your practice. But then what? I don't want to leave. And I'm like, well, there's only like, you're telling me all the things that are wrong. And I can't fix it in a 5-minute conversation. And I wish I could, but you know what you need to do. You just don't want to do it because it's difficult. And I think that was my biggest message to the people who came to my talks was, sometimes things aren't a good fit anymore, and that's okay. And I know change is very scary. We want to stick with the devil that we know, but sometimes you have to take that leap and say, this just isn't a right fit for me anymore. And it's totally okay. I've had team members leave me because they didn't like my management style. Guess what? It's, Simon and I, we own the practice, and sometimes that's not going to change. So if that's not a good fit for you, that's totally okay. But you just have to not be afraid to take that leap. And same thing, Mark, I want you to solve all my problems, but I don't want to pay to talk to you and have you, right? And sometimes you have to. It's worth the money.
Do you have a problem? Yes. Do you want to solve it? No.
I want you to solve it.
I don't want to put any work into it, and then I'm going to blame you when it doesn't work.
Jenni, one of my favorite quotes that you're hitting on right now is nothing changes if nothing changes. So they're not willing to do it. With that, was there any concerns that you heard from people at the conference or vets about right now that was coming up a lot in the conference that people were saying again and again? Was it mostly what you just mentioned there, Jenni?
I think the main concerns are the same as usual. How do we stay busy in the quiet months? A lot of hard times finding veterinarians, not for urban areas. I feel like that isn't as much of an issue. There are vets on every corner in big cities like Boston, New York, Chicago, LA. And so I think that they're not having quite the issue, but definitely those of us who live in rural settings, maybe do, especially large animal, mixed animal, there's still a huge shortage of that. So I think finding vets and finding certified vet techs is a problem. A lot of what we spoke to and hopefully hit home was retention is really where we need to be focused. We don't have to look for new vets and new techs if we can keep them. And then I talk to people who are like, yeah, we just lost 2 CVTs because our practice owner just won't let them do what they're trained to do. And so utilization of your team is huge. And one thing that I really noticed was the successful practices that I talked to, the ones that were really happy and happy with, how they were being used or, utilized. That's the ones that were successful. The ones that felt like the whole team was included, the whole team was included in all decisions. Those were the ones that were really happy. The ones that felt like they were very clear, practice owner, like hierarchies, right? Practice owner is up here, practice manager is down here, if they even have one and if they even include them in the conversations, and then your techs really aren't utilized. Those are the ones that just didn't seem happy and were, looking for ways to, the quick fixes. How do I fix this? How do I fix this? And it sounded a lot like, if you're not utilizing your team, you're not going to retain them. And then, you are going to have a hard time finding people.
Mark, for you, was there similar concerns? What were you hearing from the vets and everyone at the conference?
Well, I think the people that were happiest were the people that brought their whole team.
That is true. We have a good time.
Well, you can see Jenni's posts, but I've talked to other practice owners that they're bringing their whole team. They're bringing every doctor. They're shutting down. The practice isn't open. They're treating VMX or any show as a learning experience for everybody and an opportunity to see what's in the industry. I mean, it's hard in your everyday life to find out what's going on in the industry. If you look at LinkedIn or Facebook, you don't get the full picture unless you're immersed in it. I mean, that's kind of why LGA is going to Yankee Dental this week, is because we want the team members to learn about dentistry and how to interact with dentists and how to serve dentists. Same with veterinary medicine. If you don't bring everybody with you or rotate people coming every other year, they're not going to get a flavor for the industry and they're going to kind of be isolated. It's hard to be isolated in veterinary medicine because there's a lot going on there and there's so much change. Most of the vendors that I talked to were a lot of AI. Mm-hmm. There were also, I think this is bad for the industry. It's good for the individual, bad for the industry. The relief vet companies that promote that you don't have to have a career anymore. You can just shop around and pick your jobs as you choose. And if you don't like it, you move on to the next place because there's somebody equally as desperate to hire a veterinarian.
That will pay whatever you want and let you work whatever days you want to.
You can make $200,000 a year, no nights, no weekends. You call your own shots. And I've talked to people before that are relief veterinarians and they won't buy a practice. They're like, why? I can make X dollars. I don't have to work nights or weekends. I don't have to worry about anything except seeing patients.
Well, and you don't have to worry about long-term client care, right? The hand holding, the what happens when things go wrong. Somebody else handles that. I just show up, I'm a cog in the wheel, do my job and leave. I forgot about that. You're right, Mark. There were so many relief vet companies.
An idiot, I hit the like button or follow button just to see what they're like, and now I get ads every single day.
Do you need a relief vet?
I'd like to be a relief vet. Call my own shots, make my own hours.
So how does that work? Is it like being a travel nurse where they send, like an agency sends you somewhere, or would I want to live in like a space where there's 6 vets that may need me to be their Batman and come in every once in a while?
Exactly. I mean, it's short-term positions. You're covering maternity leaves or long-term, sabbaticals or vacations, and you can float from wherever you want. I had somebody I spoke to that was working for 4 different practices.
And they go into certain practices on certain days. Some of them are scheduled on certain days. So every Tuesday, we know we're going to be shorthanded. So we're going to have you come in and help out. Or, we covering maternity leaves or leave or bigger things like that. But these booths at VMX will help organize that for you. So now you don't even have to worry about your own schedule. We'll schedule you. You tell us where you live, what your area of coverage is, and we'll schedule it for you. And I do agree with you, Mark, that I think as an individual, that sounds amazing to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to take a vacation. I'm going to set my own. I'm just not available for these 2 weeks,
Yep.
but I'm going to show up and do as many shifts, but not have any of the stressors with it. My concern, Mark, I think to what you were getting at is it's a problem for the industry is, again, we're a service industry. If clients aren't able to have continuity of care, what does that mean for the veterinary industry? Well, that means if I'm not going to get continuity of care at my local small business, or my local small practice, I might as well go to a Banfield or a corporate owned or a Petco, one of the places in Petco, and just get shots done and then go to an emergency clinic, right? Like, why am I going to keep going to a privately owned or even corporate owned small business if I'm not going to get the continuity of care? And what I've seen is a lot of people who are struggling with, we have a relief vet come in, they don't match our culture, they argue with our techs, they don't utilize our tech, all of these problems, but you need the help. So I think you have to look at, do you want a warm body or do you want somebody that helps grow your practice? It's a real conundrum.
We used to have that in paramedicine or emergency medicine. If there was a shift open, you needed a warm body. The ambulance can't operate without 2 paramedics in the front. So you would sacrifice and get somebody that may not know the streets, may not know the protocols as well, may not work well with other people, but they were there to help because you needed them. So I think for those doctors that don't want a patient to go down the street and retain those patients for life, they have to have a warm body. So is it the lesser of all evils?
But I also think having a warm body can lose those patients. You've got to build your culture and work at, this is what we want and this is what we do. And, in our instance, we've been looking for a vet that fit our culture since 2020. We had a vet move on in 2020. And since 2026, we still are not taking new clients. And I know people are afraid, well, that's the death of a practice. But realistically, we have kept up. We don't have slow times. We have kept busy because our clients appreciate the fact that we're waiting for someone that will fit in. Now, we've hired her as of August. She's fitting in great. She's working well. She started taking call this month, and so we're seeing that. And it was worth the wait. And our clients think it was worth the wait. And I'm hoping we'll open back up to new clients within the next 6 months as she gets more proficient. But it's one of those things that so many vets are scared to say, if we don't hire a warm body, we can't physically keep up with what we're doing. So do we turn new clients away? And I think, for us, that was the right choice. You have to decide what's best for your practice. But I think hiring a warm body can be a catch-22, right? You've got somebody there that can help you. And maybe that's where the relief vet comes in, right? They're helping you. They're doing, yes, they can do a physical exam. They can do vaccines, that. But you're not getting that continuity of care that you're hoping for. So it'll be interesting. I know that this has been a trend. I hope it's just a trend or a fad for the last few years. I've seen this a lot more relief vets, but there were a lot of VMX, the companies that will schedule it, because I guess handling your schedule is too much. I don't know.
It's an app.
Right.
You're swiping left or swiping right. I think that it's also forced people to go to new grads, which I've said before, if somebody is working hard and has the right attitude, hopefully you can train them to do anything. They got into veterinary school. They should be able to learn most things. So
right.
we've had lots of clients talk to me about hiring new grads where in the past they wouldn't, and they give them up to 6 months to prove themselves and work well with people and work well with pet owners and patients, and most of them are proving themselves.
I think we're coming through these graduates now who weren't in vet school during COVID, and that has made a huge difference. I found that interviewing vet students who were in vet school during COVID and hadn't had the practice talking to clients. They might be able to handle animals, but they haven't had the communication. Didn't have the communication skills. And I think, so Dr. Grace, who we hired in August, is a new grad. And it does take time. It does take work. And your whole team has to be on board. And that new grad has to be willing to learn from your whole team. Kayla is our head CVT. She's been with us it'll be 18 years this year. and so she has a lot to teach. And so you want a new grad that's able to say, well, I don't need to just learn from the doctors. I can learn from the CVTs. I can learn from the vet tech assistants. I can learn from the receptionists. There's a lot of different areas to learn from. And I'm finding that these new grads are thirsty. They want to learn and they want to work hard. And so I agree, but you have to understand that they're not coming out of school. You can't just throw them in and be like, okay, good luck. You've been a student for your entire life and you've never not had a textbook in front of you. Have fun. It takes a lot of training and a lot of work and a lot of patience and a lot of understanding and a lot of allowing them to fail and learn and having their back. So it is work. But to me, those are the vets that are going to stay with you. If you're willing to put the time and energy into them, hopefully they're going to be willing to stay for a long period of time. And that's what we want. Retention with clients and with team members.
Were you seeing a lot of young vets at VMX, or what was the crowd? Or
it's hard to tell because nobody dresses like a doctor.
No, I was just going to say, you see, I love these big conferences because you truly see a snapshot of humanity, right? You see the people in suits and ties and heels and all of that.
T-shirts.
Right. Well, then you see the people who look like they just rolled out of bed in their pajama bottoms. You see people dressed in scrubs. You see people in jeans and T-shirts with sneakers. It is all colors of hair, all colors of, or all types of people, extroverts, introverts. You see the Eeyores of the world and you see the cheerleaders of the world. And it's just so much fun. I did feel like I saw a good snapshot of veterinarian ages. There were some of the old school people that you see every year, right? And then there were some young ones. I talked to quite a few vets that this was their first time at VMX. And they were overwhelmed, but they were enjoying themselves. And a lot of those were younger vets. And then have a conversation afterwards. Don't just let it end at the class. Have a conversation afterwards. I also think, to Mark's point about they were happier when they brought their team. I find it to be a real good team building experience. We have fun, and it's okay to have fun in vet med. You don't have to be serious all the time. Last night we ended our night with 2 very intense euthanasias. And so we get enough of the seriousness at work. It's okay to laugh and have fun and goof off and maybe hit a couple roller coasters while you're there.
And I always call it, whenever you go to a conference with some teammates, you get conference pixie dust. And what I mean by that is you come back, it's great. You can think you can fix everything. You have these big topics. And then I always say pick 1 or 2 that you really want to implement and then don't lose it after you get that conference magic wears away when you're back, as you said, back to the daily grind and everything. Remember those top 1 or 2 things that you really want to tackle maybe in a month or 2 or tackle right away if you can.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Tony Robbins. You're charged up and then all of a sudden you come back to reality and you're like, oh.
You take a couple days and then you're like, okay, we're back at it. And like you said, Chris, we just got hit with a snowstorm. So we got back last Thursday. Most of us took Friday off to recover. And then I was on Saturday, and then yesterday we were closed because of the snowstorm. So we really haven't even had a chance to reconnect about it. But I do think I tell my team members, make a list of all the things that you want to do, then pick the top 2. Let's focus on those. Let's give that a couple months to work on, and then we'll move on to something else on the list. But it is overwhelming because you come back and your brain is full of all these ideas, and the team is like, oh God, they just got back. Now we have to change everything and we hate it.
With that said, you know how we all get fake news now on our social media? You scan by, you don't know if you get a real article or not. I did see one that said within 10 years, we'll be able to speak to animals like Dr. Dolittle. So maybe some year you'll see that at VMX, someone, but I don't know if that'd be a good or a bad thing. This might be something I cut from the podcast right now because I'm going.
No, I think you should leave it in. I think you should leave it in for sure. Can you imagine what was that movie, Up? And the dog, Doug, the dog had the thing, and he was like, "Hi, my name is Doug. Squirrel." I feel like that's what you would hear is, my stomach hurts. Is there a snack in this room? Mark, do you want to talk to your dogs?
I already know what they'd say.
Feed me.
Feed me. That bacon you're eating, split it in half.
Steak, steak, steak. It would just be the drool.
Well, I saw the drool this morning when I was eating bacon, so it just wouldn't stop.
Yeah, I will say I did not see anything like that. It would probably maybe help us a little bit as veterinary professionals because they come in and my dog hasn't been eating. Well, are they not eating because they're painful? Are they not eating because their stomach hurts? Are they not eating because they did eat too much bacon and now they have pancreatitis? You know, we don't know. And so that might help a little bit. I don't want to know what my dogs are saying.
Yeah. Move back to reality. So I know we saw some AI stuff and the travel doctor stuff. Was there any technology that really wowed you, or was it a lot of updating of old models for things like surgery stuff, or was there anything that you started hearing that you wanted to really bring back to your practice? Or Mark, was there any technology there you said, "Wow, I should probably tell some of my clients about this," or any new products?
I like the virtual assistants, remote assistants. I know our TVC platform has a couple new vendors that do scheduling remotely, inventory management, billing. I think more companies are getting into it. I know just like in dentistry, everybody's trying to outsource due to not being able to find qualified team members. I still think it's not penetrating the market as much as I would think. People are just, I told somebody at VMX that, oh, by the way, if you're ordering at Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's, you may not be talking to somebody in the store. You're talking to India or the Philippines. And they vehemently denied that could be occurring. I'm like, this is a small world we live in.
Right.
There's people ready, willing, and able to work anywhere. You just have to find them.
I think the technology piece, like we're upgrading our laser, but I thought about it and we bought ours. I was pregnant with my youngest, who's 12. So we've run that sucker into the ground. It was time. But one of the things, I think they were new this year. It's called Aeronetic, and they have oxygen concentrators, which I think when we're looking at efficiencies and when we're looking at saving money, I think an oxygen concentrator for me is the way to go. We've been using an oxygen concentrator for the last 10 years, but the concentrator that we have was made for personal use. And so again, ran that into the ground. So we're looking at a bigger one that can work even with regards to if we lose power, if we, it really will be able to handle our oxygen kennel, our surgery, our dental, our treatment area, all of that at once. So it's a lot more powerful. And the service, we've got a company that can service it. So I was really excited about that. And I think, a lot of people are hesitant because, again, it's so funny, Mark, because you're always like, I don't understand why this isn't penetrating the marketplace.
Yeah.
We don't like change. That's our freaking stubborn. This is how we've always done it. And this is how we've always done it. And so we've always rented oxygen tanks. Well, that's fine, but we've run into issues where our oxygen air gas company, now we're out of a different store because they closed the other store because, again, you can't find people and we don't get shipments as quickly or, deliveries as quickly. So this is, to me, kind of a win-win. We'll be able to produce our own oxygen. We'll be able to save a lot more money with rental fees. We might have one tank as a backup and we'll still have our portable tanks to take on the road with us. But yeah, I don't know why more people aren't doing something like this other than it might be a space issue. But to me, I was like, nice. So yeah, we purchased our new oxygen concentrator there and I'm really excited to get that in and up and running. And I think there's more now that we're seeing French Bulldogs is the number one breed. They have breathing issues. Every single clinic should be prepared for a brachycephalic dog to come in with breathing issues. And if we don't have oxygen readily available, that's a concern.
All those breeds.
Right. Like English Bulldogs, Pugs, Bostons, they're all a hot mess.
Dog de Bordeaux.
Oh, yeah. But they're cute.
Oh, yeah. Newfoundlands, the ones with the flat faces.
Oh, yeah, that look like they ran into a wall.
Yep.
Mastiffs. I like it with the longer nose.
That's traditional.
Yes.
They're being bred for the smushed face.
Why?
Same with St. Bernards. If you look at St. Bernards now, they don't have the snout. They have the
Yeah.
almost mastiff-looking nose.
Hot mess. That's what that is.
Yeah.
No, they do not.
They don't.
Okay.
People do bring service dogs
Yeah.
throughout the
Mhm.
show, but most veterinarians you see don't even care. They're like, yeah, I see enough animals during the week. I don't need to see one at the show.
They
It's
don't have
true. My husband
slept-
literally, every time we go for a walk, I'm like, oh, look at the cute puppy. I'm like, how come you never pet the dogs that we walk by? And he's like, I see enough of them. Oh, however, we did see an armadillo at the show,
Oh.
and my CVT got to pet it. So that was an exciting moment. We don't have a lot of armadillos in New Hampshire, or any.
Hopefully not.
I don't think so.
All right. So if you had to recap VMX for this year, Mark, how would you put it for people?
I think it was probably best to find out new technologies and investigate. Even if you're scared of new technology, you should start learning as much as you can about AI. I think you should be at the forefront of technology because technology is going to save your practice from a diagnostic standpoint and from either using your technicians to the fullest extent that you can. I'm sure they're clamoring for more technology to make their job easier and make patient diagnostic skills better. And if you're the owner and roadblock to that, you should step aside and let the people who are actually entrenched in patient care. I mean, really, veterinarians should be diagnosticians and prescribe care and move out of the way, and let the highly trained staff do their job. So any tools that can do that. I mean, Jenni mentioned, they've had a laser for 12 years, and I told her when she was going to buy that, don't let it be a doorstop, and she didn't.
No.
So I'm sure the technicians at her practice were, fully on board with using that as part of their everyday everyday treatment skills.
Awesome. And Jenni, question sent to you. How would you wrap up your key takeaways for VMX 2026?
So, yeah, I think a lot of what Mark said, the AI stuff, it's not going away. So putting our heads in the sand does not help matters. But also when you make a decision, it needs to come back to your culture, which hopefully you're working on constantly, and you're not allowing the culture to make itself, because that's never a good thing. But make sure that the decisions that you make match your culture. So if you say a remote assistant isn't for me, that's fine. But maybe it's time to switch to a new practice management solution that can help you. Software can do so much more now than I love my Avamark. And I know Mark always says it looks like an 80s video game. And it does, but it's comfortable. But it might be time, we're starting to look at cloud-based solutions that maybe can do a little bit more, so that you're not having a text app over here and a store app over here and an AI scribe over here. And maybe there's practice management solutions that can do all of it. So there are other ways to help with the efficiencies of your team. I think that's what we're talking about here, is utilizing your team and helping them to become more efficient. The other thing that I would say is, if you've never gone to one of these big conferences, it's worth doing at least once. And I agree with Mark. Bring members of your team. Whether or not you close your entire team, bring members of your team and have expectations, because I think I saw one practice manager on one of my Facebook groups say that they closed down, took the whole team. The doctor went to classes. No one else went to a single one. And I think if that's the case, I think that the expectations were not there, ahead of time. Here's what we expect. We're going to meet and wrap up every day. Let's make time for fun things as well as classes, so everybody feels included. But to me, it's worth taking your team, but make sure that you have those expectations ahead of time and you're not just letting everybody loose and see what happens. Because if you've never been to Orlando, you're probably going to spend a lot more time at Disney or Universal or SeaWorld or one of the many other options, as opposed to going to class. So have those expectations, but I do think it is worth taking, and take all members of your team, your front desk staff, your technicians, your doctors, your practice managers. And then when they come back, really sit down and talk about these ideas and take them seriously. Don't just waste your time and money and send people and not listen to them. But I agree with you. I saw a lot more groups of people coming, and I was very, very encouraged by that.
Awesome. All right. So thank you for this latest episode of the Veterinarians Podcast, and we will be seeing you soon shortly.
Thank you for listening to the Veterinary Survival Show.
If you have any questions for Mark or want to learn more about how LGA supports veterinary practices, visit our website at lga.cpa. Again, that's lga.cpa.